Mhm. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Catherine Snyder, and this is the Center for Spiritual Living Boulder Valley. We're in Lafayette, Colorado. Now, the Centers for Spiritual Living is an organization that teaches that each of us is a divine being, that what we say and what we think matters, and that you can change your life by changing what you think and what you say. And our vision and passion is inspiring and uplifting all of us to do that, to learn the new ways of being, the new ways of thinking, to really make a difference in our lives. So we start each one of these talks with a type of prayer that we call affirmative prayer. And this is not about beseeching to an outside God. Each one of us has our own manifestation of the divine being within. And this prayer is about calling that forward and putting our word into that the ether that always says yes. It's declaring the truth of who we are and what this day will be. And today we're going to have Dave do our pray in.
As we gather here, we open our minds to the ever-present good, knowing that what is said is what we need to hear, something that we can take and utilize on a daily basis. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. And our speaker today is Reverend Michelle Wadleigh. She is an inspiring and exciting coach, master teacher, speaker, and workshop facilitator, and prayer practitioner. Michelle founded the Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey 22 years ago. She's the co-founder of Planned Happiness Institute and its coaching academy. She has been a coach for over 20 years as a graduate of the IPEC Coaching Institute. Michelle spent years developing her course in forgiveness and shadow work. These courses are complemented with her books, Forgiveness, A Path, a Promise, A Way of Life, and her new book being released soon, Shadow Work, A Spiritual Path to Healing and Integration. She's the author of a ton of other books, Prosperous Me, 40 Days to Freedom, A Lenten Practice for the Modern Mind, and So It Is, a book written specifically for individuals who take issue with the word God, such as myself, if I may say so, and May Silence Be Your Guide. May Silence Be Your Guide, A Guide to Self-Paced Silent Retreat, which also sounds like a book I could use. Thank you, Michelle. She's also created many inspiring recordings. So today's talk is about the science of mind principles. When you have principles, do you need faith? When you study the principles of metaphysics and science of mind, you're automatically elevated to a divine and powerful relationship of co-creation with the intelligence that created us. And so Rev Michelle invites us to take stock of the principles that empower us. So welcome, Michelle. Okay.
Sorry, didn't realize I was muted. My dog
problem.
was barking. Good morning, everyone. So I'd love for you to join me with an opening affirmation that we use every Sunday. We used every Sunday for many years, although it's changed a little bit. Please repeat after me. Today is the most glorious day of my life, for I am the place where love resides. And thank you. And as a speaker, I would so love for you to stay on sound and not mute yourself. We're so small and intimate. We're together, right? So, it's if we were in a room, there would be sound. So I just invite you to let yourself be heard. I mean, if there's a crazy dog or something in the area, feel free to mute yourself. But if not, let's stay together. So first, Catherine, thank you. I'm not sure how you came to me, but I thank you for inviting me. And I am kind of excited about the title today. I've been traveling the country, doing a lot of trainings with practitioner groups and workshops all over the place. And so today feels like a breath of fresh air to do something a little bit different. Um, I um, I have been in the teaching for almost 30 years. And I'm gonna have to update that bio, Catherine, because the
Oh,
funny thing is the shadow workbook is out. It's been out since September, and now that same publisher is republishing my forgiveness book. So now that won't be out till 2025. So I'm gonna have to make sure I update my bio. So what I'm here today, what I want to talk about, what I'd like you to contemplate with me is the difference between faith and principles. Are they the same? Are they not the same? And when you have one, do you need the other? I grew up, I have been a metaphysician my entire life. I was never anything else. So I come to you as a full-fledged lifeblood of metaphysical teachings. And I refer to myself as a spiritual metaphysician because a metaphysician can be a little more cut and dry, but I have a spiritual, softer, mushier side to me that I bring when I do my work. So I want to give you a quote. I want to start with a quote from a friend of mine who actually is an author. You might know her, Carol Carnes, Reverend Dr.
mhm.
Carol Carnes. She's in the West Coast. She's up in the years. I don't think she's in a pulpit anymore. And she said, if God, and notice she uses that word, were correctly identified, we would know it as I am, the great originating cause of everything. It is the sound of Om, the universal vibration of creation. We replicate that sound every time we utter the words I am. So for me, one of the things that I believe is keeping our communities small is that we get stuck in the jargon. We get stuck in the science of mind jargon.
Hmm.
But if we go beyond the jargon, if I'm speaking pure principle, I should be able to serve the needs of the audience without having them protect themselves and say, well, I don't believe this and I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Just like the word God. I no longer have issue with it, but I did have issue with it for a long time. So now for me, it's God, life, energy, love, universal minds, any of those and all of those work for me. And most specifically, intelligence. Because I believe that you and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for some form of intelligence. Maybe not the kind of intelligence that we think of that has its own volition, but the intelligence that infiltrates our volition. As I don't know if any of you have studied Thomas Troward, but Thomas Troward spoke about the personal volition, right? And as we know, with the teaching symbol, right? The big V, and at the top of the V is all that is the everywhere present, always available essence of good, right? It's undifferentiated stuff. I think it was Wallace Wattles who called it the undifferentiated stuff. And then as you and I speak our word, we call this essence into being, but it comes through us. It comes through us. So when it can't get that word out. When it particularizes itself, it's through our consciousness, through our thinking, through how we activate the law by calling it into being. And it's critical, it's absolutely critical that we know about our relationship to this. So faith is lovely, and there's a mystical side of it, which I think is lovely. But the faith works because there are principles in place. And while people now are, going wild with, Joe Dispenza and Esther Hicks and all these people, they're just catching up. Metaphysical laws have been in place for a long time. Metaphysical laws have been teaching us for a long time that when we speak into the law responds. Where I think that sometimes we distract ourselves is that because of the delay of the spoken word and the creation, right? We speak and then there's a delay. There's the time, like the time it takes for the seed to grow, to to germinate and take root. Just like that time, your spoken word, my spoken word needs a time of germination to be fertilized. And what happens is that delay sometimes distracts us and confuses us, and we think it didn't work. So often I find individuals are not necessarily taking responsibility for every word they speak, or every thought they think, or the things that they ponder or contemplate upon. Why? Because there's a delay, right? You get that?
Mhm, mhm.
That delay can have you think that it's not powerful. That delay can have you think that the principle might not really be working. But it, if you've ever watched a master artist, master artist create a masterpiece, the first few strokes that they put on the canvas, you would not immediately think it was a masterpiece, right? You see them, they're at work, they're applying the paint, but it's not necessarily, oh, what a masterpiece. It's some paint on a canvas. The same thing when building a cathedral. The first blocks of stone that are placed, unless you have an idea of the cathedral that the architect has in their mind, it just looks like some stones, some being placed on the ground. A new metaphysician, for new people especially, and I don't know how experienced any of you are, for new people, the level of impatience can have one thinking, oh, this stuff doesn't work
Mhm, mhm.
because it needs time to create out of itself. Am I making my point? Am I clear?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So faith is about understanding that the principle of co-creation has a timeline. I work with thousands of people every year. And what I find is that people have very undisciplined minds,
Mm.
undisciplined thinking, speaking. And I know that this lack of discipline is because it is not immediate. Many years ago, pre-COVID, my ex-husband, who is a member of my community along with his new wife, he is an artist. And so we did a demonstration one day, and we put two pallets up on easels on front of the room. And what I did, I said to him, what I want you to do, please, is to respond from the vibration of what I'm saying and put something on the canvas. So I spoke very harshly and negatively, and he was putting hard strokes and dark colors and chaotic kind of stuff, which is an art in and of itself. I'm aware. But he did that. And then I said, okay, now, and then I spoke affirmatively, kindly, creatively, responsibly. And so suddenly the strokes on the palette were different. And he was doing this live. So he was, being very quick to respond. But that's not how the law responds. Sometimes it responds that way. Sometimes you can have an experience of the miraculous and suddenly uh say you're looking for a new place to live and you do your affirming work. Yeah, suddenly you can all of a sudden find the exact right place. Yes, there are spontaneous healings that happen. Yes, those things happen. You're looking for a job and you can't find it and can't find it, and you realize, oh, let me get grounded. Let me speak my word. Let me get focused on the desired outcome. And you do that, and before you know it, there's an opportunity there for you. Those are wonderful, but it doesn't work that way all the time. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest about it. It doesn't work that way all the time. But here's what I want to ask you to do, or here's what I'm suggesting. If you want to be a metaphysician, a master level metaphysician, begin to monitor your mind. Begin to truly monitor and watch your mind. Not once a day, not on Sunday, not when you're with another metaphysician, not when you're taking a class, but ongoing. Watch and do me a favor, close your eyes for just a second for me, just a second. Go inside and right now, as you're listening to me, what is the nature of what you're thinking about right now? Are you in judgment? Most likely you are. Why? Because that's human nature and it's okay. What's the landscape inside your own mind right now? Catch it. And when you're ready, open your eyes. You see, we are called to monitor, to catch. In every single class I teach, every class, especially intense workshops, which are for my shadow and forgiveness workshops, I give people pre-work for 2 to 3 weeks prior to the class. And we send them this whole sheet and we ask them to monitor their thinking. I ask them to watch out for their judging, their gossiping, and their complaining. Because I want to tell you, this sounds so elementary, but the fact is that a mind that's busy, and I'm going to be a little Jersey on you, a mind that's bitching, moaning, and complaining is not as fruitful as a mind that is affirming. It's just not. It is equally creative, though. Equally creative. So if you are not one who wants to discipline or wants to monitor it, right? And you just have free forming, oh, life is hard and oh, these politics and oh, the election and and this gets your attention, but you don't remember to come home to be grounded. And if you do not do that, the thing that takes the bulk of your time, the thing that gets your attention most of the time is that which creates the mental atmosphere that you create out of. So I want to tell you a little story because we can make anything sacred. The principle is about application of your focus and your conscious attention. So, look at the placebo effect, right? Placebo says, if I take this pill, I can be healthy. Well, is it the pill or is it the consciousness that I add to the pill? So many years ago, I went on a journey. Every year, I haven't done it since I've been remarried, but every year I used to take myself on a journey during my birthday, which is April. And I've gone to, on this side of the world, we go to a place called Omega, Kripalu. They're spiritual places. One time I decided to go to Mexico with the ministers. This year, that year that I'm talking about, I went to Mexico with Don Miguel Ruiz, his son. We went on a spiritual journey to Teotihuacan. And because my birthday is in April, sometimes it coordinates with Easter. And every Easter, they go to Teotihuacan and they walk to the top of the pyramid of the sun, the pyramid of the sun, and they do a marriage ceremony. So people are told to wear something white and to be prepared to kind of marry God. Let's say marry spirit. Okay, it's just a ritual, just a ritual. But what happened was that was the year that Don Miguel wasn't feeling well. Don Miguel Ruiz of Four Agreements, in case I didn't make that clear. And what happened was this year his heart wasn't doing well, so his son was doing most of the teaching. So nobody communicated with me that they weren't doing this ritual. But I, in my mind, had decided that I wanted that ritual. I wanted that sacred moment. So I actually went and I bought myself a gold ring, cheap gold ring. And when we climbed to the top of the sun, I asked his son to facilitate a ceremony for me. No one else was doing it. I don't even know if anyone else was paying attention. I didn't care. I applied principle through setting the intention myself. And he carried the ring to the top of the pyramid for me, and he facilitated a sweet ceremony, and I just sobbed. How did that happen? How did I get such an experience? Because I set the intention in motion. I did that. It wasn't dependent upon Don Miguel. It wasn't dependent upon Don Jose, his son. I set it in motion. And this is what you and I can do when we apply principle. So for me, that year when I came home from that journey, I carried. They gave away these stones.
Wow.
I don't know if you could see it. I'd like to get it polished one day. And when this stone sits on my desk, for me, it ties me, connects me back to that moment at the top of the pyramid
Wow.
when I said, yes, spirit comes first before anything else, before anything else. And so the application of principles happens through you, through your clarity of mind, but definitely through disciplining your thinking. You and I cannot afford to have sloppy thinking. Again, I want to reiterate, and I really want you to get this. It is because of the delay of the creation. Because I promise you, if you actually created everything you think immediately,
Oh.
you would change quickly. You would change quickly. If you saw the result of your limited negative thinking, your non-affirming thinking, if it suddenly was in your face, you'd go, "Oh, I don't want that." And you would change immediately. But the issue is the delay leads us to not see the impact of the responsibility that you and I have for applying the law. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So it's great to have faith. I have, you know, um, and faith and principle, they do contain the same thing. But for me, principle is even more dependable because it's not dependent upon some soft science. Principle, as quantum physics now is catching up to us, metaphysicians, quantum physics says
Yes.
that where I place my attention, my energy goes, that as I observe the world, I impact the world through my observation. Does that make sense? So this is what we need to apply. We need to apply active, conscious, responsible thinking, active, conscious, responsible speaking. And you all know this. Ernest Holmes said, change your thinking, change your life, right? We all know that. But it's not that simple. It's not. It's change your thinking, speaking, pondering, daydreaming, imagining, change your life. Because in the quiet moments when you're alone before you go to bed, especially when you're driving in your car, sometimes anybody here, I know I don't believe this anymore, but when I was first in Science of Mind, somehow I had this idea that God didn't hear me when I was in the car. That spirit like wasn't listening then. So it was like free form, like every, all the, like the gloves came off. But then I learned, oh, that's not true. Wherever I am is the presence of this intelligence, the presence of this intelligence that is always creating through me. And so when I got that, I became by far more responsible with my thinking, my speaking, my acts, my action in the world, my pondering, my contemplating, all of it. Which, if you're feeling like this is very daunting, I get it. I get it. It's like, whoa. But once we once we get the momentum and we begin to see the activity our mind creates, and we start taking responsibility and we switch our attention, it becomes easier. It becomes tremendously easier. I just don't hover in whoa, ain't it awful? Or whoa, it's awful anymore. You will not catch me hovering there. I have moments of reaction, and right now in my household, I'm dealing with my husband with a diagnosis of cancer, and we went through some dark weeks of facing it and having to deal with it. And then I remembered who I was. I remembered who I was. I remembered that I am steeped in spiritual principles and practices, and that I can serve my husband, but mostly by staying in my faith or my principles, whichever you want to call that. Does that make sense? Does that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I think I've spoken probably a little longer than I was supposed to.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. It's fascinating. Keep it coming.
Well, I'll pray out because I know we're going to stay and have conversation. I just want to do a quick shout out. Hello, Michael, darling. I'm glad you're here. Michael's an East Coast friend, and so let us take this into a prayerful contemplation. Okay. Join me in the consciousness right now of the power, the presence, the love that is everywhere present. The essence of good that is that is our essence. And let us admit that we are one with this one and surrender over to it. As I speak this word, I do so not as the personality of me, but the I am of me. What I know right now is that each of us has experienced a shift of mind, and the shift is born out of the result of being more disciplined and more responsible for our thinking and speaking. And that because of this discipline, we benefit. We find ourselves a little bit healthier, a little bit richer, a little bit more loving, a little bit more creative, and willing to go deeper and further with every affirming thought that we think. I trust our process. I trust it implicitly. And with great faith, I surrender this word to love into law with all my conviction. And so it is.
And so it is.
Hmm.
Thank you, Rev Michelle.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
I remembered who I was. I'm having to find I have to remind myself, remember who I was frequently. Before I stop the recording, though, when we go into our discussion here at Centers for Spiritual Living, we believe that one gives where one receives spiritual nourishment and inspiration. So if you found value in the message, if you want to contribute to our work or feel moved to make a donation of any size, please make a love offering on our website, cslbouldervalley.org/donate. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now and we can begin our discussion. If you're watching this recording and would like to be part of the conversation next time, you can find the Zoom link on the front page of our website, cslbouldervalley.org. We meet online via Zoom the first, the third, and the fifth Sundays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And in between, we meet in person here in Lafayette, Colorado. We hope to see you.